Motoring 2011 on TSN is brought to you by Quaker State, Real Durable Oil, and Michelin, a better way forward.
Despite the fact that hybrids represent about 2% of total vehicle sales, hybrids and electrics continue to be the cause célèbre in the automotive world. It seems that every manufacturer is adding one to its lineup. Well, this week we find ourselves in beautiful British Columbia, and this is where Kia has chosen to launch its Optima Hybrid. Now, I'm here to tell you that I have driven the Optima. I think it's one of the best new vehicles that I've driven this year. So my question is, why do they need a hybrid? Well, hopefully we'll find an answer to that later on. But first, I thought we'd make this kind of a theme show. And with that in mind, we're going to join Motoring's Billy Lyon, who recently had a chance to hang out with the folk at General Motors. And he drove, at least in the electric world, a vehicle that many people believe is not only the best, but maybe the only electric car to succeed in real-world conditions.
Most manufacturers these days provide the option of an electric or hybrid vehicle. Range anxiety is now common knowledge with this new technology, and as much as you may be against this greener option, GM's new Volt is a car that cannot be sneezed at.
It's a true electric vehicle with extended range. So you operate as a full function electric vehicle for your first 40 to 80 kilometers. You can go as fast as you want, you can go on the freeway, you can treat the vehicle however you want, and you're a pure electric vehicle. After that, then you have this range extending gasoline engine, which prevents you from having to be worried about running out of battery and not being near your home base. So the Volt's electric drive unit actually consists of two electric motors. The first is a 150 horsepower motor. That's the primary drive unit, does most of your driving. The second motor is smaller. It's about 75 horsepower and also serves as a generator. So when the gasoline range extending engine turns on, it drives that smaller motor as a generator.
With loads of catchy animations, you can't help but feel that you're in a futuristic car. A sleek and effective design means that you get great looks without compromising any luggage capacity. There is plenty of boot space to allow you to pack generously for a long weekend, and more importantly, there's space for a few sets of golf clubs. To be honest, I'm not the biggest fan of hybrids and electric cars. There seems to be so many problems with them still. Handling isn't great, performance is nothing to write home about, and well, these all seem to suffer from this range anxiety that, well, within about 20 kilometers of driving them, you've got to recharge them again. Well, Chevy seems to have nailed it on the head with this Volt. I mean, look how good looking this thing is. It's got plenty of boot space, it's got a cute bum. Well, I've been driving it around all day and I've turned a number of heads.
I thought it was really good. It's very quiet, and we drove it. We got 51 kilometers before the gas engine came on, which is right within the range. And it was kind of interesting because when the engine comes on, it just runs. So there's no actual connection with the throttle pedal to the engine, which is a bit of a strange feeling to start with. But it drives just like a normal car. It's comfortable inside. Really like the seats. The dash and everything is very informative, and really it just drives like a car should drive.
I think electric technology is great for cars. It's green. The problem is we don't have the infrastructure to charge them yet. The Volt gives you a combination technology where you run on a gas engine when the battery's depleted. So I think it works.
So I've been riding around in the Volt all day trying to find problems with this car, but to be honest, I haven't been able to find any. It's an eco-friendly car, but doesn't suffer from any traditional disadvantages. It performs well, it handles well. Yeah, there are a couple of plasticky bits in the car, but overall, a fantastic car. And if you want to be the eco-friendly neighbour, this is the way to go.
If you're going to Montreal, be sure to wear a hard hat on your head. More later on Kenzie's Corner, and no more singing, I promise.
It used to be cheap and certainly cheerless, but that was then and this is now. On this edition of Test Drive, the 2012 Hyundai Accent. Many manufacturers in the midst of moving the entry-level car from the simplistic quadrant of the marketplace to an area that stresses style. The Accent is one of many to make the move. The shift is well timed. If gas prices keep rising, there will be shoppers looking to dump a mid-sized car and move downward to cut operating expenses. The problem with this strategy in the past was it meant giving up on some of life's little luxuries. Hyundai have done a very good job dressing up this new Accent. To begin with, much nicer materials, there's better comfort to the seats, and you also, if you go with the GLS model, get a ton of equipment. Everything from steering wheel mounted audio and cruise controls, half-decent radio, Bluetooth, and a power moonroof. It all comes together very nicely, and it's a marked step forward from the previous car. The Accent arrives with an all-new 1.6-litre four-cylinder engine that features direct injection. The advantage of direct injection is simple. It delivers more power and better fuel economy. In this case, the Accent's little 4 pushes 138 horsepower and 123 pound-feet of torque. Big numbers from a small engine. The fact the engine features an 11:1 compression ratio and the fact it does not object to revving to redline underscores its willing work ethic. If you go with the Accent with the automatic transmission, you get something called the Active Eco system. When you turn the system on, it physically softens the throttle and forces the automatic transmission to upshift early. The net result is a 7% improvement in fuel economy, and that's over and above the posted numbers. The good thing? Obviously better efficiency. The downside? It tends to blunt the overall performance. Other fuel economy measures include the use of low rolling resistance tyres and electrically assisted steering. Replacing the traditional hydraulic pump with an electric motor cuts fuel consumption by around 3%. When the Accent is equipped with a 6-speed manual box, it boasts a fuel economy of 6.7 litres per 100 kilometres in the city and a remarkable 4.9 litres per 100 kilometres when out prowling the highway. The broad selection of ratios certainly helps matters. The first 4 gears look after performance, the top 2 are overdrives. The Accent hatchback is surprisingly roomy. When you pop the tailgate, 21 cubic feet of cargo space with the seats in the upright position. If you fold them flat, the volume grows to a little over 47 cubic feet. Not all, however, is perfect. To begin with, the seats don't fold flat to the floor. The opening is pinched in the middle, and this wiper, a very much needed item, but there's no intermittent mode. The new Accent rides on McPherson struts up front and a twist beam in the rear. Certainly there is some body roll when the Accent is pushed, but the setup does a pretty good job of soaking up the rigours of a rough road. The downside is that electric steering, even the sport-tuned version found on the GLS tested here, feels overly boosted for far too much of the time. Likewise, those low rolling resistance tyres tend to slip into understeer with very little provocation. I would forego the fuel savings and purchase a tyre with better grip. This new Accent takes a huge step forward because every facet has been improved for the better. My only concern, well, it has to do with price. You used to be able to buy a 3-door hatchback for about 10 grand. Certainly it was very, very basic transportation, but for somebody shopping on a budget, it worked. Yes, Hyundai's moving up market and there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. However, I think it would behoove them to remember that the cost-conscious consumer put the company where it is today.
Time to introduce our newest member to the motoring long-term garage, the Chevy Cruze Eco. Now, the Cruze has been an instant success for General Motors, and the company is convinced the Eco should continue that trend. Why? Because fuel prices continue to rise, and the Eco is boasting hybrid-like fuel economy numbers without having to pay the hybrid premium sticker price. The Eco employs the same 1.4-liter four-cylinder turbocharged engine that is found in the Cruze LT Turbo, but it's these subtle differences that have made a big effect on fuel economy, and those are just some of the things we'll talk about over the next few months.
I'm Howard Elmer, and I'm telling you, don't let the eco-terrorists fool you. Hybrids are okay, but there's a big secret out there, and I know what it is. Come check me out at motoringtv.com.
Believe it or not, I do have a daytime job. I'm an engineering technician at Well & Hydro, and it's because of that job that I'm able to afford all the stuff that I've done to this car. I spent close to $25,000 in modifications.
You know, on a day like today, it's hard to find anywhere more beautiful than here on Vancouver Island, which is probably one of the reasons Kia chose this area to launch its new Optima Hybrid, which we're going to get to in a few minutes. Another reason is, arguably, many people believe British Columbia to be one of the most environmentally friendly places here in Canada. But you know, because of the weather maybe, we find a lot of old vehicles on the roads here. Not classics, simply old vehicles that are driven on a day-to-day basis. And you know, as our Jim Kenzie says, maybe the government, instead of giving out these hybrid rebates, should give the rebates to people driving these old cars and encourage them to buy something cleaner with better fuel economy. Hey, it's an idea. All right, let's head to the Quaker State Garage and join Bill Gardiner.
Hey Brad, how about this for a counterpoint? Right beside me is the Chevy Cruze Eco model. Now the Chevy Cruze is already a very fuel efficient car in its basic architecture, and that architecture is shared to some extent with the Volt chassis. However, on the Eco model of the Cruze, they enhanced it in several areas to improve the highway fuel economy, and they were able to achieve some highway fuel economy numbers. I'm just looking at the press release right now, and the highway fuel economy numbers for the Cruze Eco are better than the Fusion Hybrid, the Camry Hybrid, and the Optima Hybrid. Now the hybrids win on city fuel mileage because the engines don't run when the cars are shut off. But on the highway, this Cruze Eco attains a fuel economy number of 4.6 liters per 100K. That's truly amazing. Now, they were able to achieve that by looking in certain areas. First of all, this car is about roughly 220 pounds lighter than, say, a Cruze LT model. So they looked at mass optimization or weight reduction by looking at some of the welds in the chassis and reducing the thickness of some of those welds, and also by reducing the gauge of certain materials. They also looked at the wheels and tires, and over 4 wheels and tires, by changing to different rims and different tires, they shed 21 pounds of mass in the 4-wheel tire assemblies, just to show you how much detail they've gone to achieve this. They also changed gear ratios, a taller 6th gear ratio in the transmission, so the engine turns lower RPM on the highway, once again saving fuel. Now, the third area where they looked at was aerodynamics. And they've done a number of things to improve the aerodynamics of the Cruze Eco model as well. There's more closeouts in the upper grille area right over here. And in the lower grille area, they actually have a set of louvers in there. They call them active grille shutters, and these louvers can close when the car doesn't require maximum cooling. They can actually close these louvers to improve airflow over the front of the car, reduce drag, and improve fuel economy. Now, Ford is also using active grille shutters on the 2012 Focus, all models by the way, and that's improving fuel efficiency by reducing drag in that car as well. On the Ford system, they rotate the shutters through 15 different positions, and they keep them fully closed at low temperatures to bring the engine more quickly to operating temperatures. Just goes to show you all the attention to detail to wring out that last little bit of fuel economy out of the vehicle. And you should look at your vehicle as well. Are you carrying around extra weight you don't need in the trunk? Maybe there's cargo you can get rid of. Drop the weight of your vehicle. Make sure that tire pressure is up to its max. You're not running around on underinflated tires, and you could switch to synthetic oil to improve fuel economy as well. These are all little advantages you can do to improve your car's fuel economy. Till next week, I'm Bill Gardiner for Motoring 2011.
It wasn't that long ago that we were at the Speedway in Miami driving the brand new Optima. And I think most other journalists were simply blown away with this vehicle. But now we're on Vancouver Island, and they've added a hybrid system to an already terrific car. Why?
As you know, we've gone through a very successful design-led transformation over the last couple of years, and we've been able to build momentum in the market, and we thought it was the perfect opportunity to introduce a hybrid vehicle to further demonstrate Kia Motors' commitment to bring the most fuel-efficient and environmentally friendly vehicles to market for North American consumers.
This is Kia saying to you, the consumer, we can do more than make cheap economy cars. We can make hybrids and luxury cars, and that's coming, with the best of them. We have the technology, we have the ability, and we can do it. This, to me, is a showcase automobile, not a halo car, but certainly it demonstrates that Kia can make more than a cheap car. I think that's the point of it.
Our studies are showing that by 2020, the majority of our competitors are going to have the majority of their lineup having hybrid vehicles. Kia really needs a hybrid vehicle, and we believe with the Optima, with its award-winning design, its successful launch, to have a hybrid version of it only makes sense.
You know, when it comes to hybrids, where do they get their best fuel economy? In the city, of course, because in the city they're running mostly on the electric motor. However, when they get onto the highway, they lose that advantage big time. And when Kia was developing the hybrid system for this Optima, they were well aware of that fact.
We focused on the highway because most customers spend most of their miles driving on the highway. We're different in that we can achieve 60, 70 miles per hour operating speed, 100 to 120 kph in electric-only mode.
No, it does not have a CVT transmission. It has a traditional 6-speed automatic transmission. A real driving enthusiast will really appreciate that. The fact that they will have affirmative shift points. This is what a real driving enthusiast wants to feel. We feel that by having a CVT, it gives a golf cart or a snowmobile type feel. And a lot of our customers, a lot of hybrid customers, vehicle customers, they just do not want that. They want to have that affirmative shift point feeling, and I think that's a real advantage when it comes to the Optima Hybrid.
You know, Kia is proud of the fact that it's the first in the industry to come with a lithium polymer battery. Now, of course, where it's situated, like in most hybrids, you lose some luggage space, and of course, you don't have the 60/40 folding back seats. However, they did put in a pass-through for skis and other long things.
On this Optima Hybrid and Optima gasoline model as well, they're presented with an Eco button. As soon as the customer hits that button, they instantly get better fuel economy. And that is above and beyond the published fuel economy ratings.
I was pretty impressed with it. It sounds cliche, but arguably I think they could put people in this car and they wouldn't know it's a hybrid. It's that smooth. I mean, it's not as spunky as say the turbo, because I mean, obviously you don't have that boost there. You've got it in the electric form, but I mean, it's just not as strong as the turbo. But I mean, it's a well sorted out package. I mean, I think they've got a lot going for them with being partnered with Hyundai, because it's sort of this dual development that they can do on the car.
This whole hybrid thing is supposed to be bridge technology, right? This is something that was supposed to tide us over until they come up with the perfect battery. I remain a skeptic. You know, go ahead, sure, why not? You know, we can always use a cleaner running car, but I wouldn't buy one personally.
Closed captioning of Motoring 2011 is brought to you by
Greener, fuel efficient, global. This is Chevrolet Now, driving our world forward.
Our cities are falling apart. Recently in Montreal, a huge concrete beam fell into the main tunnel leading into the city. Fortunately, nobody was killed. Wasn't so lucky a few years ago when a suburban bridge collapsed in Montreal and people were killed. Now, I'm not just trying to pick on Montreal now. Every city in Canada's got potholes big enough you got to gear down to drive out of them. And in the city of Toronto recently, they just finished a project to replace streetcar tracks, and they got a plan to replace them again in 25 years. What could possibly last longer than a streetcar track? Every 25 years we got to replace them. Why can't we build something that lasts? I mean, the Romans built aqueducts 2,000 years ago, and they're still standing, they're still working in some cases. But no, maybe we figure we're saving money. Well, it ends up costing us in the long run, doesn't it? Because everything falls apart. Now, the two things you always hear on the political front, though, are lower my taxes and don't decrease my services. Well, something's got to give, folks. The mayor of Toronto was elected recently on the get off the gravy train. Well, there ain't $400 million worth of gravy out there, and that's how much we need to rebuild this country of ours. If it means higher taxes, well, I don't want higher taxes either. But it beats having a bridge fall on you. I'm Jim Kenzie.
Do you know why you need to log on to motoringtv.com right now? Find out why the Menzoid got punched in the face by a woman and the cops wouldn't even press charges. Quaker State has got a fantastic deal for you. They'll give you cash for your car and you'll even get to keep it. And Jim Kenzie firmly believes that that light at the end of the tunnel is definitely not an electric car. And of course, don't forget to join our Facebook family for that total motoring experience.
You know, as I've said many times before, when it comes to hybrids and electric, I appreciate all the research being done by some very smart people, and hopefully someday, long after I am gone, it will all pay off. But today, if you really want to buy an electric vehicle, as far as I'm concerned, there's one choice. That is the Chevy Volt, simply because you've got zero range anxiety. The vehicle makes that much sense. Now, earlier, we also looked at the Kia Optima Hybrid. And as I said, the Kia Optima alone with the gasoline engine is already a great vehicle. Why do we need a hybrid? Well, let's face it, the company had no choice. They had to get in on it, and hey, it's all about optics. However, having said that, with the hybrid system, you are making few compromises. Maybe a little bit in luggage space, but not when it comes to performance, drivability, safety, and even price. However, if you're truly is going to buy an Optima, which would not be a bad decision, I'm going with the vehicle with the gasoline engine only. Great fuel economy, clean emissions. So there you go. That's it for now. We'll see you next time out as we continue to bring you more stories about cars and the people who drive them.
It's not a segment where you're going to get a lot of luxury. You have to accept that it's going to be a lot of plastic, it's going to be thin doors and things like that. But they've done a really nice job on a segment that this is where a lot of people are going to be driving.
Motoring 2011 on TSN has been brought to you by Quaker State, Real Durable Oil, and Michelin, a better way forward.